kind of, in the end, the question in this debate is how the average Joe in the southern countries is going to look at those status, or the lack thereof, and what they're going to develop from this point. We think that nitpicking to what some people thought 200 years ago or 150 years ago, those statues supposed to resemble, supposed to say, or what originally was written in the succession document, is significantly less important than what actual people today go around the street, tell themselves, tell the people, tell the family, and therefore we think we're going to focus our analysis on how this actually works. We simply don't think that going backwards and think what other people intended when putting the status is a major point in helping us understand how people perceive it today. So basically the class will be analyzing this. Before that, 2 points of rebuttal. One, we get the idea of, look, it's going to care about unification. It's going to make the South feel angry about the North. Notice, even this is true to some extent, we think unification today is significantly less important of a message than taking off racism, right? We don't think that succeeding from the North is anything on the agenda today. Of course, disagreement exists. Of course, political pressure exists. We don't think that actually talking about secession, about a new civil war, about a new dictatorship of the North is something that actually works majorly in the street in the South, and therefore we think even if it strengthens this message to some extent, it's simply significantly less than owning up the fact that racism is still a thing. It derives from the way it was. Second of all, a little bit of short-term, long-term debate. Yes, we agree some right-wing group would try to capitalize on this and create like more backlash. The thing that most people have generally tendency to agree that like the narrative of the Confederacy supporting slavery was generally a bad thing. I'll get to that in my point later on. Moreover, so we think that generally many people would just see it as something that isn't that bad, that terrible, and so forth. I think that those groups that specifically would try to use it to capitalize against the North pretty much already uses anything they can to do it. We think that it's significantly different for them to, I don't know, try to find court rulings on things that Congress people say or anything like this. We don't think we give them a significantly inherently different method in order to harness those kind of things. To think on the short term, it wouldn't be that bad. We think that on the other hand, our ability to influence the way children are raised in this place, the way that their day-to-day interaction with the South simply cease to exist, is going to help us change it for the long term. So what do we think exactly is going through their minds today when they see this status? We think that we definitely agree with OO when they say, look, I'm identifying with those status. I think of them as part of our heritage. I think that it's very likely that people will try to reconcile the fact that those people did some bad things and some good things as well in relation to how they think about themselves. I think that the likely scenario, the likely way to interpret this is not, well, they only fought for the better reasons. We think that the most likely scenario is exactly the idea that, well, they were just following orders, or were just the small people doing something they didn't have really a choice. They removed the agency from those scenarios, from those individuals, because obviously my ancestors couldn't have been those hideous people. Therefore, I have to somehow remove this horrible deed that they do and remove it from itself. No.
Okay, everyone, even in the South, agrees that slavery is bad. This is why Southerners actively proclaim that those statues stand for Southern pride and not slavery. This is why tearing them down leads the majority to violence and aggressions, which are worse than microaggressions.
No, we think that, obviously they don't say, look, we don't think that they would say slavery is good. We think that what we think is crucial here is exactly understanding that the individual responsibility is to stand up for this. And the fact that, so two messages are crucial for us. One, the fact that individual responsibility exists even for the individual who fighting, even for them to stand up and do something when wrongdoing is being done. And two, enabling them and their neighbors and surrounding to understand that some harm was done by those individuals that these statuses represent, and enable a truth and reconciliation process within those community. We think that as long as these statuses exist, and the fact that my family and my black neighbor besides me share a conflict around this specific statue, around this specific point, because we assign very different meaning to what these individuals have done, that's perpetuate this conflict. This allows us to create a meaningful truth and reconciliation. CO, CG, whatever
yes.
you are.
High school students are being taught about historical narratives. There are sites of explaining the history. They do think of those statues as part of the reconstruction and not about slavery.
Again, we think that like narratives are complex. Obviously, some narrative contradicts us, and if really we believe when we're saying I identify with them as symbolizing my heritage, my family, I think that part of this narrative must be trying to reconcile how this individual comes to me. We also think that the CG response that we still have the rifle, my transparent image, significantly different when we talk about something that have state approval, that is in a public place, that everybody share and commemorate those memories together, and we think this is exactly where we stop getting this very, very complex and delicate and nuanced narrative and start getting something that I have to all the time remind myself that there was something to justify those actions, and if I'm not standing for the wrongdoing now, then it just means that I'm following orders. I don't have to actually do something. I think that this is very harmful narrative for our ability to create, to fight racism, to help those people to actually stand up for the wrongdoing, and to create truth and reconciliation within those communities. What we showed you in our case is basically what we need to change. We need to remove from the public arena this statue, this place of disagreement. We think that even if we get some right in the short term, in the end, when it doesn't exist, when we are years will pass, we'll have less and less reason to have this damaging narrative. We think that on the long term, this goes to the other side of the house. So please propose.